When I was 15, my dad died saving someone, and I moved in with the Brown family. With Mike Brown's silent approval, I became his quiet little shadow. That changed at the start of senior year when I accidentally knocked over the Century Egg kanji he bought for the pretty new transfer student. Mike got mad at me for the first time. "Hey Sarah, your dad saved my life, but the Browns took you in for 3 years. I don't owe you anything." He walked away with the cheerful girl, leaving me to quietly clean up the mess on the floor. Then I got my college application form and silently crossed out State University. From then on, we were even. After changing my college choice in the office, I slowly went back to class with my physics workbook. Morning study hall had just ended, and everyone was quietly napping at their desks. In the back corner, Mike Brown was focused on helping Brittany Miller with physics. Sunlight streamed through the branches outside, falling on their faces, which were close together. It was quiet and nice. My eyes moved from Brittany's pretty, outgoing face to the damp spot on her clothes. I'd accidentally spilled her breakfast earlier, and Mike had gone with her to the restroom to clean it up. Thinking about him walking away like that made the skin on my hand, burned by the kanji, ache again. Thud. Someone tripped me while I was handing out the workbooks, and the tall stack scattered everywhere. The noise startled a few people in the corner. Mike, who was gently explaining a problem, looked up at me for a second, then went back to what he was doing. But his friend next to him started messing around. "Hey Mike, looks like your little shadow wants some physics help too." Towards the end of senior year, I was doing well in all subjects except physics, which was always my weak spot. Before Brittany transferred here, Mike used to help me with physics after morning study hall every day. Laughter and teasing immediately filled the quiet classroom. I ignored them and just kept picking up the workbooks on the floor. Maybe thinking I looked pathetic, Mike frowned and started to get up to help. Just then Brittany, who was chewing on her pen and thinking hard, suddenly linked arms with him. She seemed to just notice me and gave me a bright, bold smile. "Oh hey Sarah. Sorry, I'm not good at physics, and the teacher put us in a physics study group. First come, first served, I can't let you have him." After she finished speaking, Brittany playfully stuck out her tongue, a slight blush on her face. Her pretty face and confident expression were a huge contrast to quiet, introverted me. "Professor Brown, I think I get it now. Can you keep going?" "Okay." Mike sat back down next to her, turned away, and didn't look at me, basically agreeing with what she said. The warm sunlight fell on them again, as if separating them from me in the shadow of the desk, creating 2 different worlds. He started explaining more advanced concepts, and Brittany had trouble keeping up. The pretty girl frowned, chewing on her pen cap, then just rested her chin in her hand, tilting her head to look at him. "Mike, your eyelashes are so long. Focus." Mike's face remained cool and distant. He seemed unaffected by her flirting. "Oh okay," she mumbled, then quietly moved even closer to him. I watched this sweet scene for a bit while holding my workbooks, then quietly turned and left. First come, first served. But Mike was the one who whispered in my ear, "Little Sarah, from now on, can you only see me?" The classroom was pretty empty during lunch break. I ate my lunch while working on physics problems. Next to me was another packed lunchbox. The sweet and sour pork ribs and braised chicken drumsticks inside were already cold. I'd waited in a long line to buy them. But Brittany had just transferred and wasn't used to the school cafeteria food, so Mike went to a restaurant outside with her. Today's food was a bit salty, and I started to lose focus on my physics problems. "What are you crying about? So lame." A pair of long, slender hands tapped my desk. A pack of tissues and a box of strawberry shortcake appeared too. I looked up and saw him pull a medal out of his messenger bag and put it on my desk. National Physics Competition Gold Medal. "Hey Alex, you're back?" I grabbed 2 tissues, roughly wiped the tears from my face, a little surprised. Alex Chin was my desk mate in sophomore year. He transferred to the physics competition class in junior year. He'd been away at State University for physics training during the first half of the year, and I hadn't seen him much. Today, Alex was wearing a black thin hoodie, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, showing a bit of muscle definition in his forearms. He seemed to have matured a bit. "If I didn't come back, Mike would keep bullying you. I'll help you with physics starting today." Alex pulled up the seat next to mine and sat down without asking. He took the workbook that was lying on my hand and started grading it quickly with a red pen. Hearing Mike Brown's name, I sniffled again sadly. No, that's okay. Seeing more and more red crosses in my workbook, I felt a bit ashamed and wanted to refuse. But Alex was decisive. After grading, he immediately pulled out a piece of scratch paper and started explaining the problems. You used the wrong formula on this problem. His voice was deep but clear and strong. Unlike Mike's step-by-step approach, Alex's thinking was very jumpy when he talked about physics. Soon, the scratch paper was filled with his neat notes. I couldn't bother to refuse anymore, and quickly focused on following his train of thought. After I finished correcting my mistakes, I looked up and saw Alex happily eating the sweet and sour pork ribs. I tried to remember, but I didn't think we were that close. I don't know. Maybe he's just really helpful to classmates. After evening study hall, I waited for Mike by the bike rack. I didn't want to go home with him. I'd just left my key at his place that morning. From far away, I saw Mike in the dark. He was walking slowly with one hand in his pocket, and the bouncy Brittany was next to him. She looked up at him with her pretty face, her eyes shining as she sweet-talked him. I improved in physics today, Professor Brown. You should reward me with ice cream. Mike's face was cold, but he still reluctantly nodded. He seemed to have a soft spot for girls who acted cute. Last fall, the whole class hiked up Tiger Leaping Gorge nearby for a field trip, and I was exhausted and collapsed halfway up. Mike squatted in front of me then and rubbed my head. Little Sarah, act cute and I'll carry you up. But he waited for a long time, and I just mumbled and kept a blank face, not saying anything. I hadn't smiled much since my dad died on duty, let alone acted cute. He smiled helplessly and pulled me onto his back. Seriously, you got me. It was foggy on the mountain that day and very cold. But Mike's back was warm and reliable, easing the anxiety in my heart. Yay. Professor Brown, I like you best. The evening wind carried the girls' happy, sweet laughter, and vaguely, words that sounded like a confession. By the time I snapped back to reality, Mike had already taken out the key and was waiting for a while. Walk back by yourself, and don't tell my mom anything weird. Brittany saw me and hid behind Mike, a little embarrassed. But when she peeked out, she gave me a slightly hostile smile. Okay. I took the key, tugged at my backpack, and left. When I got back to the Brown's house, Mrs. Brown had made sweet soup for a late-night snack. She kindly took my backpack and then peeked behind me. Finally, her gaze fell on the hint of redness at the corner of my eye. Sarah, why are you crying? Why did you come back by yourself today? Where's Mike? Did he bully you? Tell me if you're upset, and I won't let him get away with it. Mrs. Brown was a very gentle woman, and was very good to me. After my dad died saving Mike from a criminal, Mrs. Brown decided to take me in. It's okay, Mrs. Brown. I just haven't been doing well in school lately. Sitting at the dining table, I slowly drank the sweet soup, spoon by spoon. The tapioca balls were soft and chewy, driving away the coldness in my heart. Meeting her worried eyes, I smiled. Thinking of Mike's words earlier about not owing me anything, I hesitated for a long time before finally speaking. Mrs. Brown, I want to apply for dorm residency. College entrance exams are in a few months, and staying in the dorms will give me more time to study. Mrs. Brown was surprised at first to hear my request to leave home. She didn't think too much about it, just opened her phone calendar and carefully counted the days. Although she was a little reluctant, she agreed for the sake of my studies. Mrs. Brown smiled, and her slender, soft hand stroked my head. Your scores are already high enough. Getting into state university with Mike shouldn't be a problem. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. During the college application period, Mike would mention his college choice intentionally or unintentionally every day. He only relaxed after confirming that I was also applying to state university with him. Remembering that I had changed my college choice in the office earlier that day, I quietly swallowed a spoonful of sweet soup. Okay. Mrs. Brown, can you not tell Mike about the dorm application yet? My expression was extremely serious under the light, and Mrs. Brown was a little surprised. But she just thought we had a little fight, and were having a minor disagreement. After all, she clearly saw how much her son liked me over the past 3 years. All right. If that brat Mike finds out, he definitely won't want you to go. Seeing that it was getting late, she took the remaining bowl of sweet soup back to the kitchen. Then came the sound of her calling Mike to come home. When we left the house the next day, Mike and I silently agreed not to talk. Downstairs, Mike stopped his bike a few yards away from me. Brittany sprained her ankle last night. I have to give her a ride. You walk by yourself. He rarely explained himself, probably afraid I would cling to him and want to ride on the back of his bike. To this, I just nodded expressionlessly. Hey. Mike wasn't used to my coldness and frowned, but he seemed to think of something else and quickly put that awkward feeling aside. From now on, let's leave the house at different times. A classmate moved into the nearby apartment complex, and they might misunderstand if they see us together. I don't want people spreading weird rumors in class. As he spoke, he didn't know what he was thinking of, a faint smile on his lips. What was he thinking of? It must have been Brittany's cute, pouting face when she was jealous. It was so expressive and pretty. Okay. I nodded and left without looking back. I didn't tell Mike that there wouldn't be any possibility of people misunderstanding us leaving together from now on, because I wouldn't be living here anymore. The spring air was still chilly, and there weren't many people on the road in the early morning. I pulled my sweater tighter under my school uniform and walked slowly toward school. Sarah. A warm, large hand suddenly landed on my head, brushing away the mist from my hair. I was startled and looked up to see it was Alex Chen. He was nearly 6'3", and even propping his bike with one leg, he still looked tall. The morning sun fell on him, his features clear and bright, as if glowing. He stuffed 2 hot pork buns into my hands and patted the back of his bike, inviting me to get on. Thanks, but I already ate. I was going to be late for school, so I thanked him softly and still got on the back. Hold these for me, I haven't had breakfast yet. Alex's shoulders were wide, shielding me from the cold wind the whole way. I unzipped my backpack, put the pork buns inside, and hugged my backpack tightly. Alex, didn't you get early admission? Why are you still coming to school? Yesterday, when the competition class students returned, the school put up banners announcing the good news. Alex won the National Physics Gold Medal and already got early admission to the top physics program at State University. We're childhood friends, after all. I had to come support you so you wouldn't get bullied. Besides, your physics is so bad. What would you do without me? He knew about Mike Brown and me, and seemed to know what happened after the transfer student showed up. But my thoughts were caught by his words, childhood friends. Childhood friends, really? I met Alex when I was in middle school. One day after school, I went to buy fried skewers in the alley behind the school and saw Alex being beaten up by a few thugs. He was badly beaten, his face covered in blood. I immediately called my dad, who was on duty at the police station, crying and telling him to come help. It was almost evening, and it was raining a little and cold. I knelt beside Alex, holding an umbrella over him, not daring to touch him, crying from being scared. Hey, wake up. Don't die. Alex, whose hand was hurting, woke up groggily and saw me when he looked up. You're pressing on my hand. What are you crying about? So lame. Later I found out Alex's parents were both really good professors, often doing research and exchanges abroad. So he had a lot of allowance money, and the thugs were trying to extort money from him. To repay me, Alex treated me to fried skewers for a long time. Later, his family took him abroad to live, and he didn't come back until the second semester of sophomore year. I guess that counts as childhood friends. When I walked into school, free study hall had just started. I stood in the hallway holding my physics workbook, quietly listening to Alex explain problems. He stood where the wind blew, shielding me from the cold wind in the corridor. Suddenly, someone shouted from the quiet doorway. Hey Mike, your little shadow is being stolen. The students stopped their study hall, gossiping and peeking out the window, whispering and laughing. My explanation interrupted. I subconsciously looked up. Down the hall, Mike and Brittany arrived late. Maybe because it was too cold, Brittany Jaljalda put her hands in his pockets to warm them up. They were standing very close, looking incredibly coupley. Mike heard his friend's teasing remark and immediately frowned and retorted, "She has nothing to do with me." As he said that, his cold gaze fell on my hand and Alex's, which were accidentally touching, then quickly moved away. Brittany next to him tugged at his sleeve, and they walked into the classroom side by side. My heart was calm. I looked away and wanted to continue working on problems. Looking down, I just realized my hand was on Alex's hand at some point. He had a lot of heat. His hands were warm year-round, very comforting. My palm felt burned, and I quickly pulled my hand back, stammering to hide my nervousness. Ahem, studying. Alex smiled and didn't say anything, but the writing on the scratch paper became more flowing. He really was someone who won the physics gold medal. His explanation was very clear. I unknowingly became engrossed in listening, not even noticing when Mike approached. He pulled me away and looked at Alex with extremely wary and hostile eyes. Then he pinched the bridge of his nose and looked down at me helplessly. Sarah, stop messing around. I'll teach you after I finish teaching Brittany. I'll set aside half an hour every day to teach you physics, okay? Mike seemed to be compromising, with a slightly condescending tone. He was waiting for me to back down, waiting for me to agree obediently like before and say, Mike, you're so nice. However, I just pulled away from his hand and stepped back. No thanks. I then pointed at Alex. He's a better teacher than you. After being rejected in front of everyone, Mike's face instantly turned cold, and his words were a bit sharp. Suit yourself. He took long strides to go back to the classroom, but after a few steps, he stopped and said coldly, Since you like studying physics so much, you don't need to come to my birthday party tonight. It was Mike's birthday today, and I celebrated his birthday with him every year. I blinked and nodded. Okay. Mike's face got even uglier, and he quickly went back to his seat. The onlookers immediately started teasing again with playful smiles. His little shadow got dumped. That person was Mike's friend, and he always openly embarrassed me. However, what made me even sadder was that Mike never stopped him. Ouch, ouch, ouch. When I snapped back to reality from the wailing, Alex had already walked to the window. He leaned in through the window, grabbed the guy's collar, and dragged half of his body out forcefully. Your mouth is so nasty. If it happens again, I don't mind sewing it shut for you. With my eyes shining, Alex forcefully patted the guy's face. Apologize. Sorry. Amidst the crowd's laughter, the guy's face turned red, and he stammered an apology. Alex let go and walked back to me, returning to his good student, obedient look. Thank you, Alex. I looked up and thanked him softly, unable to hide the smile on my lips. He leaned down towards me, pretending to be serious. To repay me, you have to wait in line again to get me sweet and sour pork ribs for lunch today. He was a bit close, and his warm breath fell on my face. I pushed his chest awkwardly, creating some distance. Okay. After evening study hall, I received a message from Mrs. Brown. Sarah, are you celebrating that brat's birthday tonight? Don't come back too late, and remember to wear a coat, it's cold. My fingers typed on the keyboard, and I finally replied okay. After sending the message, I saw Mike's post on Instagram. The photo showed two hands tightly clasped together, with a caption that said, You're on the left, I'm close to the right. This was a song Mike liked to listen to. Before Brittany came, he always hummed it next to my ear. He wasn't at evening study hall today. The two seats in the back row were empty. Turns out he went to celebrate his 18th birthday with Brittany. Many people liked the post, everyone saw it. Friends who weren't in the loop thought the hand he was holding was mine and congratulated him loudly. Finally got the little shadow after 3 years of trying. Congrats on your secret crush coming true. That comment only appeared for less than a second before Mike immediately deleted it. I turned off my phone without any other reaction. No likes, no comments, no well wishes. From the moment he said I don't owe you anything, we were like strangers. Sarah. Walking out of the school gate, I saw Alex pushing his bike and waving at me under the street lamp from afar. He stood casually, the dim light casting a small shadow on his brow bone. I suddenly noticed a small red mole near Alex's smiling eyes. I covered my chest and immediately felt a butterfly fluttering its wings and soaring high in there. Alex. I walked over slowly and greeted him. It's my birthday today, and my family is all abroad. Since I helped you with physics, keep me company for my birthday, okay? Alex casually took my backpack and hung it on his shoulder, mentioning it as if it were an afterthought. I nodded and got on the back of the bike skillfully. Okay. I took Alex to a ramen place I really liked. Before my dad passed away, he used to take me here every year for my birthday. There was a claw machine near the entrance. You could get points for every bowl of ramen you ate and get a chance to win a prize. The grand prize was a giant ramen plushie. The restaurant served 2 bowls of thick soy sauce pork bone ramen. Alex and I sat side by side, seriously eating the hot noodles with our heads down. The soft-boiled egg was tender and creamy, and the pork bone was fatty but not greasy. Cheers to you, Alex. Happy birthday. After finishing the chewy thick noodles, I raised my mug of barley tea and clinked it with his. Alex seriously gulped down all the tea, accepting my birthday wish. Then my wish this year is for your physics to improve, and for you to get into the college you like. He smiled and sincerely made a wish towards the ramen plushie in the corner. I took out my points card from my school uniform pocket and handed it to the cashier. There were 20 points on it. These were originally for Mike Brown. For the past 2 years, I came here to eat ramen with him for his birthday. Unfortunately, I never had the luck to win that giant ramen plushie I really wanted. Thinking about this, I looked up at Alex. He was currently leaning on the glass of the claw machine, smiling goofily. This year was different. It was Alex this year, he would definitely win it, right? When we came out of the ramen place, Alex was holding the giant ramen plushie, his face beaming with joy. Noticing me watching him, he cleared his throat and tried hard to suppress his smile. A woolen scarf with a faint body warmth was wrapped around my neck. Sarah, I was really happy today for my birthday. His eyes were intense and sincere, and I felt my cheeks flush slightly. Okay, I'm glad you're happy. I buried my face in the scarf, secretly hiding the smile at the corner of my mouth. Alex dropped me off downstairs at the Browns' house, and we agreed to meet the next morning. I took a deep breath and patted my cheeks. As I approached the shadow of the building, a strong smell of smoke reached me. I frowned and walked around it, but Mike suddenly grabbed me. There were cigarette butts scattered all over the ground at his feet, and a smear of lipstick was still on his lips, pink. Where's my birthday present? Mike ran a frustrated hand through his hair, and suddenly cornered me against the wall. Let go of me. The distance between us in the dark was too close. His breath, smelling of unpleasant smoke, fell on my ear. This close contact made me feel a bit sick. I struggled hard but couldn't break free. Little Sarah, where's my birthday present? He smelled faintly of alcohol and seemed a bit drunk. I hugged my backpack to my chest, trying to keep distance between us. Mike's gaze fell on the ramen keychains on the side of my bag, and his eyes lit up slightly. I knew it, you went to the ramen place, and you got me a plushie, right? You didn't get the ramen plushie again this year? That's okay, I like the keychain too. His tone suddenly softened, and he raised his hand to take off the keychain. Taking advantage of his relaxed guard, I pushed him hard, shoving him to another corner. Then I quickly ran a few steps outside the building, standing under the bright street lamp. There were some cardboard boxes piled in the corner, and Mike stumbled, almost tripping. But he wasn't angry, he just looked at me with the pitiful, wronged eyes of a sad puppy. I know you're not happy I celebrated my birthday with Brittany tonight. She asked me to stay over, and I didn't agree. There are 2 hours left until midnight, celebrate it with me again. It was that condescending look again, as if his kindness was a favor to me. Mike walked over a few steps and easily grabbed my arm, trying to drag me out of the complex. He was too strong, and his grip hurt a little. What was even scarier was his gaze, filled with intense possessiveness, as if he wanted to devour me whole. You're hurting me, Mike. Let go. I desperately hit his hand, struggling frantically, tears welling up. Little Sarah, do you like me? After only a few steps, Mike, who hadn't finished speaking, was suddenly kicked hard. He flew past me like a broken kite, then fell to the ground awkwardly, grunting in pain. Before I could even see what happened, my back was already in a warm embrace. A large hand gently held my shoulder, and a physics workbook appeared under the street lamp. What are you crying about? So lame. Alex stuffed the physics workbook into my backpack. Then he raised his leg and kicked Mike firmly in the back twice. Did you hear her tell you to let go? Did you hear her say you were hurting her? This was the first time I had seen Alex so angry. His thin lips were in a straight line, his whole body trembling unconsciously, but the force on my shoulder was still very gentle. After taking a few kicks, Mike sobered up a lot. His eyes fell on the back of Alex's bike, where a giant ramen plushie was tied. Then they fell on my neck, where a scarf matching Alex's jacket was wrapped. His eyes instantly turned red. "Damn it, Alex. You dare touch my girl." Mike got angry and punched Alex in the face. I immediately rushed forward without hesitation and pushed him into the cold pool behind him. After splashing around in the water a few times, Mike was completely sober. Remembering what happened when he was pulling me earlier, his face instantly turned ugly. "Alex, are you okay? Does it hurt?" I helped Alex up to the street lamp and carefully examined the wound on his face, holding his face. His lip was slightly split and a little swollen. "Ouch!" Alex gasped, hissing in pain, but seeing my tears about to fall, he held it back. Doesn't hurt. Don't cry." He raised his hand and gently pinched my cheek, pretending to look fierce. "I'm fine, go on up. Your aunt must be worried." As he spoke, I followed his gaze and saw Mrs. Brown looking out from the balcony upstairs. She was leaning out, looking very worried, and waved at me. "Remember to put on some ointment when you get home. See you tomorrow, Alex." "See you tomorrow." Under the street lamp, Alex rubbed my hair, then patted the head of the ramen plushie on the back of the bike. Finally, he glared fiercely at Mike and rode away. Mike walked a few steps behind me as I went upstairs. There was a complete silence between us at first. Then he caught up and explained in a soft voice. "I was just worried and anxious for a moment, afraid he would bully you." I remained expressionless and didn't look at him again. "The person who's been bullying me has always been you, Mike." He paused, his tone filled with frustration and unease. "I'm sorry, little Sarah. See, I scraped my hand too, and my body hurt so much." In the past, whenever Mike got a scratch or bruise, I would frantically look for medicine for him. He seemed to like the way I got so worried and cried for him, so he would act even more dramatically and pretend to be in pain. And my tears would fall even more. At that time, he must have seen my tears as a trophy. "Look, there's a girl here who secretly likes me. She even feels so much for me that she cries." I went inside and ignored him, walking straight back to my room. I never expected Mike to just follow me in without any hesitation. There wasn't much left in the room. My dorm application had been approved by the school. Over the past 2 days, Mrs. Brown and I had packed most of my luggage. I could move to the school tomorrow. From now on, I wouldn't have to see Mike anymore. So I didn't want him to come into the room, didn't want him to find out, and didn't want to argue with him. "You can't come in." I blocked him, quickly reaching out to close the door. Mike frowned and shoved his foot in the gap, trying to force it open. "Why can't I come in? This is my home, not yours. Why can't I come in?" Hearing that, I lowered my head, feeling like my body had gone numb. Yeah, this was Mike Brown's house. After I let go, the door was forcefully pushed open by Mike. I fell onto the floor, hitting the back of my head hard, and the world immediately spun. But Mike still couldn't come in. As soon as he pushed the door open, Mrs. Brown angrily grabbed him and pulled him away. After locking the door, I sat blankly on the bare floor, touching the bump on the back of my head. The suitcase by the bed hadn't been closed yet, and in one corner, Mrs. Brown had tucked in a small stack of photos of us together. I crawled over and looked at them one by one. Any photos of Mike and me were torn up and thrown into the trash can. From then on, Mike and I had nothing to do with each other. My dad's life in exchange for my 3 years at the Browns. They say we were even, but this debt was still hard to settle. The next day was the weekend. When I woke up early in the morning, Mike had already left the house. Mrs. Brown knocked on the door and came in, gently hugging me as I stared blankly by the bed. "My little Sarah has suffered in this house, and I have to say I'm sorry. Please don't take anything that brat Mike said last night to heart. My home will always be your home too." Her embrace was soft and carried a faint scent of orchids, comforting my restless heart. I hugged her tightly, and tears started falling again. Even though I disliked Mike, I still really liked Mrs. Brown. "I'm not upset, Mrs. Brown. I like you best." We went downstairs and had a hot breakfast, then packed our luggage and left. Before we even got to the girls' dorm building, We saw Alex in the distance, pleading with the dorm supervisor. "Ma'am, you're the kindest person. Please, I just need to help my friend move some stuff, and I'll be right back down." He was holding a cup of hot soy milk and a box of soup dumplings, which he handed to the supervisor. Today, Alex's hair was neatly combed back, and his school uniform was perfectly ironed, which was unusual. "Alex, over here." I waved at him and briefly introduced him to Mrs. Brown. Alex, who was usually so talkative, was unusually quiet, bowing deeply when he greeted her. Then he awkwardly carried the suitcase upstairs quickly. After going up and down several times, Mrs. Brown gradually went from being surprised to understanding, and then to feeling heartbroken. Better taste than that brat Mike. That night, Mike, who hadn't attended evening study hall for several days, suddenly burst in. His face was grim and he squeezed my wrist tightly. "Sarah, are you trying to avoid me? Who said you could stay in the dorms? Come back with me." The silence in the room was broken, and the students who were focusing on studying looked up in surprise. Pulling and shoving, it was embarrassing. I struggled but couldn't break free, so I reluctantly got up and took him to the hallway where there were fewer people. "You're disturbing everyone studying." The light in the corner was dim, casting a blurry glow on people. Mike suddenly pressed me against the wall, his eyes filled with emotions on the verge of spilling out. His voice was hoarse, and he took out the torn photos that he had painstakingly taped back together from his pocket. "Are you staying in the dorms because you don't like me dating Brittany? We're not together. That post on Instagram was a joke. I'll take you to school from now on, and I'll help you with physics. Little Sarah, from now on, can you only look at me?" There was a hint of pleading and a little bit of hurt in his cool, distant eyes. So fake. I pouted and secretly grumbled. After grumbling, I realized I was acting a bit like Alex. "Mike, who you're with has nothing to do with me. Staying in the dorms is my business, and it has nothing to do with you either. Evening study hall time is precious. Please don't disturb my studying." While he was still caught up in his dramatic display, I gave him a hard shove and broke free. I stepped back a few paces into the bright light, and clearly and concisely stated my thoughts in a serious tone. But Mike didn't believe me. He bent down, lowering his head, and patiently continued to sweet-talk me. "Little Sarah, don't be stubborn. You know that the person I've always liked is." However, before he could finish, a phone call came in. Mike frowned and hung up immediately, but the caller was persistent. "Mike, they're cornering me in the alley. I'm so scared." It was Brittany's crying voice on the other end of the phone, soft and sweet, enough to melt anyone's heart. Sure enough, Mike's face changed dramatically, and he anxiously asked for the address. "Sarah, I'll be back to pick you up after school. We'll go home together then. Wait for me, I'll be back." The evening wind began to blow. I stood in the soft light, watching Mike walk step by step into the darkness. See, we were ultimately people from two different worlds. I let out a sigh of relief after getting rid of his chanchanjiojeo. Just as I was about to go back to study hall, the bell for the end of class rang. Remembering I had arranged to meet Alex by the back fence, I hurried over. I arrived early, and the usually lively fence area was still pretty empty. Alex's tall figure was easy to spot, and I found him without much effort. Seeing me, he threw his backpack over the fence with one hand and climbed over with the other. The school rule is no climbing the fence. I looked left and right, afraid of being caught by the student council's surprise patrol. Alex walked to the nearby gazebo and took out a steaming hot late-night snack from his bag. He poured the wontons, added the sauce, laid out the baby bok choy, fried egg, and char siu pork. "It's okay, they can deduct points from me. Come on and eat." He sat on the stone bench, broke apart the chopsticks, and eagerly waited for me to come over like he was presenting a treasure. He looked a bit like the dog the security guard kept, cuter than usual. I took a bite. The crab roe wontons were fresh and flavorful, leaving a pleasant taste in my mouth. I felt warmth rising in my stomach, and my heart gradually became warm too. "Didn't you say you were bringing physics notes?" While eating the wontons, I opened the notebook he gave me, filled with dense notes. Some of the ink marks were very fresh. It was clear they were newly added. Alex took the notebook, took out a red pen from his pocket, and started circling and drawing on it. "I was afraid you'd be hungry. Studying physics is tiring. You eat, I'll explain a bit." A project at the State University Physics Lab is starting, and I got a spot to observe and learn. I have to leave early tomorrow morning. These notes cover the key points for the college entrance exam. I'll quickly explain the especially important ones to you. Don't worry, you can video call me every day, and I'll teach you online. It'll be just as effective. The gazebo faced the wind, so Alex turned sideways to shield me from the cold wind blowing through the corridor. Under the slightly dim street lamp, his rambling voice gradually spread out, and the physics formulas in the notebook started jumping around randomly. I think I was getting a little distracted. Because of Alex. Before he noticed, I patted my cheeks and cleared my head. Thank you, Alex. He paused and his eyes suddenly brightened. No problem. When you get into State University, you just have to wait in line to get food for me every day. When he mentioned State University, the smile on Alex's lips was impossible to suppress. The class president happened to pass by, curious, and then gave us a look of speechless disapproval. What the heck? Smiling like you have a whole family just because you're doing physics problems. Despite the teasing, the class president immediately took out a physics quiz from his pocket and humbly asked for help. I quietly made room for him and went to the side, holding the notebook and digesting the knowledge, occasionally eating a wonton. That day in the office when I crossed out State University on my application form, I actually filled in State University. Who knows, maybe it was destiny. Maybe it was fate. After saying goodbye to Alex, the class president and I discussed problems as we walked back to the classroom. After packing my things, I suddenly received a few photos from Brittany. The first photo was of Mike kneeling on the ground applying ointment to her injured leg. The second photo showed scattered wine bottles and messy clothes all over the floor. The third photo was gross. Blocked. For some reason, I thought of Mike's especially serious words when we parted. Wait for me, I'll be back. So fake. Blocked him too. The third mock exam went very smoothly. My physics had improved a lot these past few days, and Alex's notes accurately predicted the key points. During lunch break, I was reviewing the exam alone in the classroom when I heard the sound of the door being locked from outside. A hot, wet kiss unexpectedly landed on my neck, like a venomous snake slowly slithering. My body froze for a second, and I grabbed the thermos on my desk and slammed it with all my might at the person behind me. It's me, Sarah. Mike clutched his forehead, his face showing a hint of pain. There was no one around, the door was locked, and I couldn't climb out the window. I tried hard to suppress the panic in my heart, took out a sharp utility knife from the drawer, and held it tightly. Mike, are you crazy? Seeing my extremely defensive posture, a bitter smile appeared on Mike's lips. His clear, detached eyes dimmed slightly, and his shoulders slumped weakly, looking particularly dejected. Sarah, I was wrong. That night Brittany was cornered by those thugs in the alley. I went to help her because I wanted to make things clear with her. I told her you're the person I like. I just realized how much I really like you. Can you like me again just one more time? We can go to State University together. We still have many years ahead of us. The corners of his eyes were red, his voice hoarse, and he couldn't help but choke up a little at the end. In the 3 years I knew him, I had never seen Mike so flustered. But so what? The story about Brittany being cornered by thugs in the alley was fake. I saw it with my own eyes. Brittany and that group of people were smoking behind the school. But that has nothing to do with me. I calmly took out my phone, scoffed, and found Brittany's WeChat from the blacklist. Mike, your liking is just too cheap. The moment he saw the screen full of disgusting images, Mike's face instantly turned pale. He nervously tried to deny it, but the words felt extremely difficult to say. I didn't know. I really didn't know she took those pictures. Brittany cried that night. She begged me to stay with her just once, and then she would let go. I had a bit to drink, and I was drunk, that's why. All his explanations seemed so pale and weak. Mike silently lowered his head. After a long while, he finally mustered up the courage and tentatively asked, Sarah, I don't have a chance anymore, do I? Lunch break ended, and the door was open from the outside. I walked past him quickly with my workbook, not looking at him again. After the college entrance exams, I found a part-time job that provided room and board, and didn't go back to the Brown's house. Mrs. Brown came to see me every few days, and we didn't become distant because of the distance. The day I went back to school to pick up my college acceptance letter, I saw Mike again under the big tree by the school gate. He was standing there with a crutch, quietly waiting for me, holding his acceptance letter from State University. Not long ago, I heard from Mrs. Brown that Mike had been cornered in an alley by thugs and had his leg broken 2 days before the college entrance exams. But he still gritted his teeth and insisted on taking the exams. He had lost a lot of weight these past few days, his expression haggard. Sunlight filtering through the treetops still made him look gloomy. The moment he saw me, a hint of joy appeared on Mike's face. "Sarah, you can forget about getting rid of me. I have a lifetime of patience. We can start over at State University. If 1 year doesn't work, then 2. If 2 years don't work, then 3. I'll wait for you no matter how many years it takes." His eyes were slightly red, his gaze filled with intense obsession and possessiveness. Can't shake him off, like a stubborn rash. I frowned and took out my acceptance letter from State University from my bag, showing it to him. "Mike, stop bothering me. The Browns took me in for 3 years, but my dad saved your life. I never owed you anything." Mike's whole body trembled, his gaze dejected and hopeless. Everything seemed to go back to the beginning. There are different docks on either side of the mountain. Each boat finds its own way. When I walked out of the school gate, Alex had been waiting for a long time. The young man had his backpack slung over his shoulder and was wearing a black t-shirt, the collar slightly open. He was holding an umbrella in one hand and a large bouquet of purple irises in the other. The flowers bloomed grandly and passionately, much like his love that he couldn't hide. The flowers fell into my arms, giving off a cool, damp scent. I was surprised to find a small pink love letter hidden in the bouquet. A bit too pure. But Alex was extremely nervous and didn't dare to look at me, staring straight ahead and muttering to himself. Why do latecomers get ahead? Because latecomers fight and grab. After hearing him clearly, I couldn't help but laugh out loud and quietly linked my hand with his. "Alex, you were here first. After all, we were childhood friends." That year in middle school, after being badly beaten in the alley, Alex crashed at my place for dinner for a while. Every day after school, he would use his allowance to treat me to fried skewers. When he got tired of fried skewers, it became ice cream. When he got tired of ice cream, it became mini cakes. He enthusiastically used his allowance to feed me until my dad found out and strictly forbade it. The night before he went abroad, he secretly came to my house to give me strawberry shortcake and talk non-stop. "Sarah, I'll save up my allowance and spend it all on you in the future. Sarah, you should apply to State University too. Please, that way we'll be childhood friends. You can't forget about me. Don't underestimate the bond between us. Sarah, wait for me, I'll be back." End.